you know, eventually I started to hone a lot of this stuff, and one of the things in particular that worked well for me, and it's kind of amazing because you'd never think like anti-inflammatory compounds, okay? Anti-inflammatory compounds are critical for recovery, you know, from illness. But as an athlete, the key thing is to eliminate inflammation when you've blasted your body to the point where the body creates inflammation in the muscle. You know when you're training really hard and you feel that anaerobic respiration, that burning in the muscle? That's lactic acid, okay? That's great. But it's the stuff you feel 2 or 3 days later that you need to recover the body from. And you know that now that you're getting older, for example, oh, wow, like, you know, you go work in the yard, in the garden, and you get up the next day, you're going, holy cow, like, I can't, you know. You try and keep up with your kids to climb the hill or ride the bike, and you don't recover like they did because your body's not neutralizing inflammation the way it did when you were younger. It's not producing glutathione in its cells the way it did when you were younger. And it's one of the reasons why you can recover faster when you're younger. But when I was younger and doing those 700-pound lifts, I was trying to escalate that recovery potential for athletic activity. Today, we have it available to us for therapeutic activity. So it kind of made a shift. Now, the key thing is that that compound that I extracted and isolated finally I got it down to about a reasonable dose, because I tell you, it was a point where I was taking 10 to 15 grams of this stuff a day to get the result in the blood work for the anabolic drive. And I needed to isolate and find the compound that was anti-inflammatory, take it out. And the challenge is, how many people here have heard of curcuminoids? Curcumin is a very powerful anti-inflammatory. Problem is that the bioavailability is very poor. And you know that a lot of companies out there try to mix it with this, with BioPar and other things to enhance its bioavailability. Problem is that it's hard to get enough volume to reach the site, to penetrate the nuclear pore. Now that means that it has to be small enough to enter and create what's called transcription factors that we're learning a lot about today that affect the genes and cause them to produce these not only blocking inflammation, but anti-inflammatory cytokines. And that's where this has gone. It's actually quite complex. I didn't know what I was doing then. Today, in the lab, in the Faculty of Medicine at university, I know exactly where those transcription factors are because it's only been 3 years that they've actually discovered them. And I'm realizing that this stuff is actually affecting transcription factors and cytokines. Now, how many people here have heard of cytokines? Cytokines are things that affect inflammation. And the majority of these interleukins, cytokines, are inflammatory. Now, there's one in particular that's anti-inflammatory, interleukin 10. All the scientists are trying to find out, how do I enhance interleukin 10? That's what Empower does, okay? So we can't go too far into the scientific details because we run into claims and I get my hands slapped all the time. But